I dreamed of my late husband warning me, "Leave the house before dawn." I woke up terrified and hurried out into the night. When I came back, what I saw made my heart stop. The front door stood wide open, not kicked in, not broken, just open, like someone had a key. Because they did. My key, the one I'd given Ethan years ago for emergencies. I stepped inside. Empty, not burglarized, emptied, systematically, professionally. The couch where Laura died while reading her mystery novels, gone. The kitchen table where we'd carved our initials after too much wine, gone. Even the damn curtains. The house echoed like a gutted church. My phone buzzed. A text from my daughter Chloe. "Sorry, Mom. Wedding expenses ran over. We'll explain at the reception. You understand, right? Family helps family. Family helps family." I stood in that hollow house, 58 years old, and laughed until my ribs hurt. Then I stopped laughing. My name is Danielle Kessler. I raised 2 kids alone after my husband died. I worked construction management for 30 years, built half the commercial buildings in this city, and saved every penny so my children could have better lives than I did. And they repaid me by robbing me blind while I slept. Rock Bottom has a basement. I was in the elevator going down. The walls still smelled like fresh paint from the remodel I did last spring. The one Chloe had said was an investment in our future. The hardwood floors I refinished with my own hands gleamed under the hallway light because they'd taken the rugs too. They even took the frame photograph of my wedding day, the one I kept on the mantel. Not the frame. The whole damn mantel had been unbolted from the wall and carried out. Who takes a mantel? Someone who had time. Someone who didn't worry about being caught. Someone who believed they already owned the place. And maybe, in their minds, they did. I checked the bedrooms, stripped, the closets bare, the safe in my office, emptied but not cracked. They had the code. Or maybe they watched me enter it, once, twice, 100 careless times over the years. The jewelry inside wasn't worth much, most of it sentimental, but they took it anyway. Not because it was valuable, but because it was mine. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the pale square on the wall where the clock used to hang. Underneath the spot was a tiny dent, a mark from where Ethan had flung a toy football when he was 12, and insisted it barely touched the plaster. I used to smile at that dent when I noticed it. Now it felt like an autopsy scar. Evidence of a life cut open, rearranged, emptied. Then I remembered the dream. My husband, standing in the doorway of our bedroom, the soft light behind him making him look young again, healthy again, like the cancer hadn't eaten him from the inside. "Leave the house before dawn," he'd said, not shouted, not panicked, just calmly, like he was giving me the weather report. I asked him why. He didn't answer. He just gave me the look he always gave when he'd tightened the last bolt on a project and knew it was secure. A look of completion, finality. When I woke, I didn't think. I just moved. Grabbed my purse, my coat, the keys in the bowl by the door. I didn't even know where I was going. I just drove until the sky started to lighten and my breathing slowed. And then I sat in the car, in the parking lot of a 24-hour diner, drinking bad coffee and watching old men in trucker caps shuffle in for breakfast. I told myself I was being ridiculous. A dream is a dream. But I didn't turn back, not until the sun was up, not until it was too late to stop what had already happened. Maybe that was the point. Maybe my husband hadn't been warning me to prevent anything. Maybe he was telling me to witness it, to see the truth without walking in on it. Maybe the dream wasn't a warning. Maybe it was a revelation. I sat down on the floor, because there were no chairs left, and let the silence press against me. That silence had weight, history, betrayal. An entire childhood's worth of scraped knees, birthday balloons, and midnight fevers had been vacuumed out of the space like it was never lived in. Family helps family, Chloe had said. Chloe, who once cried on my shoulder because a college roommate stole her hair straightener. Ethan, who promised at 16 that he'd take care of me someday when I caught him sneaking beer into the garage. Those were my kids. They grew up on my paychecks, my leftovers, my overtime shifts. I taught them to write thank you notes. I taught them that the world doesn't owe you anything. Apparently they took that last lesson literally, so they decided to collect from me directly. I called Chloe, straight to voicemail. I tried Ethan. Same thing. My kids were many things, selfish, entitled, blind to their own privilege, but they were not stupid. They knew what they'd done, and they knew I wouldn't go quietly. The old Danielle, the one who packed lunches with handwritten notes, who let them borrow money they never repaid, who forgave every forgotten birthday because they're busy. She might have cried herself into a migraine and waited for an apology that would never come. But that woman was gone. She'd been boxed up and carried out with the rest of the furniture. I looked around at the empty house one last time before I walked back out the door. I locked it, not because it mattered anymore, but because it was muscle memory. Then I slid the key into my pocket, the last key they hadn't taken. Outside, the world kept moving like nothing had happened. Birds squabbled in the trees. A jogger trotted past, earbuds in, oblivious. Somewhere, in some overpriced venue with fairy lights and monogram napkins, my daughter was planning her grand entrance as a bride, funded by the liquidation of my life. Well, let her enjoy it. I wasn't done. There is a kind of freedom that comes only after you lose everything you thought defined you. I felt it then. Sharp, cold, clarifying. I wasn't a homeowner anymore. I wasn't a provider. I wasn't a mother anyone could claim with pride or affection. I was just a woman with nothing left to lose and decades of experience managing crews who thought they could outsmart her. People forget that construction isn't just about building things. It's about knowing how things fall apart, where the weak points are, how to dismantle without leaving evidence. You learn patience, you learn math, you learn that everything, every wall, every trust, every lie has a load-bearing truth at its core. Find it and the whole structure drops. My kids had shown me theirs. Chloe loved appearances more than consequences. Ethan loved shortcuts more than accountability. They wanted the life I earned without living the work I endured. They thought inheritance was a right, not a gift, so they took theirs early. Fine. They just forgot one thing. You don't steal from a woman who already survived burying a husband. There is nothing you can take from her that she won't learn to live without, except her self-respect, and they hadn't touched that. Not yet. I got in my car, turned the ignition, and drove. Not away, not toward, just forward, a direction I still owned. Some people hit rock bottom and break. Others hit it and build a foundation. I wasn't done falling, but I knew exactly what I'd build when I landed. Before we continue, hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We'd love to get to know our audience better. The wedding was in 3 days. I spent those days in a cheap motel, eating vending machine food and making lists. Not revenge lists, inventory lists. What they took. What they didn't know I still had. What they'd forgotten I knew about them. I wrote everything down in a yellow legal pad I'd used on job sites for decades, the margin smudged with graphite and dried sweat. I listed the furniture first, then the appliances, then the personal items, and by the time I was on page 6, it stopped feeling like a list and more like an obituary for a life I used to live. I even itemized the memories attached to certain things, because in their rush to strip me clean, they hadn't realized that the stories were never stored in the objects. They lived in me, and I was still here. Ethan, my son, 32, finance manager at a mid-tier investment firm, the kind of place that boasts mahogany desks and stale ambition. Always ashamed I wore steel-toed boots to his college graduation. Always introducing me as my mother she's retired, instead of, my mother, she built the office building you work in. He didn't want people picturing me climbing scaffolding or yelling at subcontractors. He wanted them to imagine pearls and manicures. He wanted his childhood rewritten to match the curated adulthood he planned, like an investment portfolio. The irony is, I paid for that degree by working weekends pouring concrete, and I never complained, not once. But Ethan never saw grit as love. He saw it as evidence of failure. Chloe, my daughter, 28, social media influencer with 200,000 followers who thought her life was perfect. Her feed was all designer handbags and charity galas, inspirational quotes about gratitude, pictures of her sipping champagne on balconies she didn't pay for. Her reality was maxed credit cards and a husband who cheated on her with his personal trainer. I knew his name. I knew the hotel he liked. I even knew the brand of cologne he wore because he left a bottle of it in my guest bathroom 2 Christmases ago. She once cried in my arms because she couldn't afford a wedding worthy of her following. I told her a marriage mattered more than a wedding. She rolled her eyes like I was speaking a language invented by the elderly and irrelevant. I knew things. Construction managers hear things, see things. We're invisible to rich people until something breaks. You learn to blend into the background while they talk like you're drywall. I've overheard CEOs admit to fraud while arguing about marble tile patterns. I've seen bank statements left open on conference tables, prenups left in recycling bins, mistresses introduced as junior consultants. When you build the skeletons of their empires, you also learn where they bury the bones. I also knew they didn't expect me to show up at the wedding. That was the point of the house robbery. It wasn't just theft, it was eviction. A message, you're not wanted, you're an embarrassment, stay away. They imagined me sitting in that empty house, crying into my calloused hands, deciding I had no place at their sparkling future. They forgot who raised them. I don't break, I rebuild. The motel room smelled like bleach and air freshener, fighting a war neither was winning. The vending machine food tasted like chemicals with salt sprinkled on top for personality. I didn't sleep much. Instead, I planned. I didn't plan to ruin anything. I just planned to be there. Presence is its own kind of confrontation. On the morning of the wedding, I took the last of my cash and went to a boutique I had no business entering. The kind with soft lighting, where champagne is offered before price tags are revealed. The saleswoman looked me up and down, saw the work boots, the motel-wrinkled clothes, and gave me the type of smile people give stray dogs, pity mixed with disgust. I'm looking for a dress, I said. Something for a wedding. A mother of the bride dress, she asked. No, I said. A mother. I bought a new dress. Simple, black, expensive enough that nobody would call security. A clean line, a fitted waist, a fabric so smooth it felt like water running over stone. I looked at myself in the mirror and realized I hadn't seen myself as a woman in years. I'd seen myself as a worker, a provider, a shield, a walking bank account. The dress didn't make me younger. It didn't erase the years. It just reminded me I was still allowed to take up space. I had the dress, the shoes, the calm. I didn't need anything else. No speech prepared. No tantrum rehearsed. Truth doesn't need rehearsal. The wedding venue was one of those old estates that rich people rent to pretend they're royalty for an afternoon. Ivy up the stone walls, fountains that didn't match the natural geography, string quartets playing music no one actually enjoys. I walked through the gate like I belonged, because I did. I paid for it. Maybe not directly, but every bill Chloe missed, every payment Ethan delayed, every overdraft fee I covered, brick by brick, lie by lie, I had built this event just as surely as I built the 10-story medical plaza downtown. No one noticed me at first. That was the advantage of being the kind of woman the world assumes is a guest's aunt or a caterer on break. I stood in the back, watching the swarm of pastel dresses and tailored suits. Everyone was smiling that hard, glittering smile that hurts the jaw. I spotted Ethan first. Perfect hair, perfect cufflinks, perfect posture. He'd always been a beautiful child. He'd weaponized it as an adult. Then Chloe emerged, in a dress so white it looked like it had been airbrushed into existence. Lace everywhere, a train long enough to trip a priest. Her smile was huge, glittering, and fake. I knew her real smile. The one where her left eye squints and her dimple shows. That smile belonged to a little girl who used to run into my arms at the end of the school day. The woman at the altar was performing happiness, not living it. When she finally saw me, her face faltered, just for a second. A glitch in perfection. The kind of moment cameras don't catch, but mothers do. The color drained under her makeup. She didn't move toward me. She didn't wave. She didn't smile. She just stared, like I was a ghost she never expected to materialize. Ethan saw me next. His jaw tightened. The kind of expression a man gets when a stock dips lower than the spreadsheet predicted. He whispered to someone, maybe his fiancée, maybe a wedding planner, maybe security, but no one approached me. Not yet. I'd come early enough to be unavoidable, and I was calm enough to be unpredictable. Good. They thought breaking into my house would erase me. They thought taking my things would take my power. They thought absence was obedience. They were about to learn what presence feels like. I walked farther in, my heels silent on the stone path. I didn't avert my eyes. I didn't flinch. I didn't apologize for existing. That was the first part of my plan. The second part, they didn't know there was a second part yet. The venue was a restored mansion with marble columns and champagne fountains. 100 guests in designer clothes. Ethan stood near the entrance in his tuxedo, greeting people, laughing that fake laugh he'd learned in business school, the kind of laugh that didn't reach his eyes, the kind corporate men used when pretending they weren't drowning in debt or insecurity. I watched him shake hands, straighten cufflinks, adjust his posture, depending on the wealth of the person approaching. He was a chameleon in a rented skin. He saw me. His face went white, then red, like someone had yanked the rug out from the illusion he'd been balancing on. He whispered something to his bride, Vanessa. She turned, spotted me, and her expression was pure disgust, like she'd just found a rat in her caviar. Vanessa called a Kessler, 30 years old, from a family that made their money in textiles, lost it in the 90s, then rebuilt it through what they called ethical fashion. I knew better. I'd seen the warehouse workers they hired. Cash under the table, no benefits, no ventilation during the summer. But their marketing was excellent. Soft lighting, recycled cotton, models of every ethnicity smiling in slow-motion videos about empowerment. The world ate it up. Fraud, when wrapped in hashtags and linen, was practically charity. "Mother," Ethan said, blocking my path, "this is a surprise." "Surprise," I agreed, like coming home to an empty house. His jaw tightened so hard I could see the muscle jump. "We were going to discuss that. After the honeymoon. We thought it would be better if you downsized. You don't need all that space." "You thought," I said, without asking me, while I slept. There was a flicker of irritation in his eyes. Not regret, not guilt, annoyance, as if I were a malfunctioning appliance interrupting his special day. He glanced at Vanessa for backup. She stepped forward. She was beautiful in that calculated way rich girls are. Everything symmetrical, sculpted, bleached, smoothed. Even her posture was expensive. "Mrs. Kessler, we're trying to start our lives together. That house is a valuable asset. You're being selfish." I looked at her, really looked at her. The way you study the load-bearing wall of a building before you decide where to apply pressure. And I smiled. That's when she slapped me. The crack echoed through the marble hall. Conversation stopped mid-laugh. Champagne glasses paused in mid-air. A woman near the pianist gasped so loudly you'd think she'd witnessed a murder. Vanessa's hand was still raised, trembling, her face flushed with rage and something else. Fear, maybe, or the sudden realization that she'd exposed her real self to an audience. "You don't smile at me like that," Vanessa hissed. "You don't embarrass us. Not today." I touched my cheek. It stung. Good. Pain focuses the mind. Pain is reality's highlighter pen. It circles the moment you stop tolerating things. "Ethan," I said quietly. "Chloe, come here." My daughter appeared from the crowd, her husband Tyler beside her. Tyler Reed, 31, corporate lawyer, the kind who smiled at you while calculating how to sue you, drain your accounts, and frame you as the problem. He had his phone out. Recording. Of course he was. Blackmail was better than truth. Edits were better than facts. "Mom," Chloe said nervously, smoothing her dress with shaking hands. "Let's not make a scene." "Too late," I said. "You made the scene when you stole from me. I'm just here to watch." "We didn't steal," Ethan snapped. "We relocated your belongings. For your own good. You're getting older. You need care." "I'm 58, not 80, I said, "and I need a phone." I pulled out my cell. The cheap burner I'd bought yesterday from a gas station clerk who didn't bother asking for ID. I dialed a number I'd memorized 30 years ago, a number I'd sworn never to use unless I had no choice. It rang twice. "Danny," said a voice like gravel and whiskey. "Been a long time." "I'm cashing in that favor, Romano." Silence, not hesitant, calculating. "Where?" I gave him the address. Hung up. Ethan was staring at me like I'd just tossed a lit match into his wedding cake. "Who did you just call?" "An old friend," I said. "He'll be here in 20 minutes. You should probably start explaining to your guests why you stole from your mother." Vanessa laughed, shrill, nervous, too high-pitched to sound confident. "You're bluffing. You don't have friends." 18 minutes now, I said. Tyler lowered his phone slightly. "Danny, wait, is that Vincent Romano? That Romano?" I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Tyler's face said it all. He knew the name. Every lawyer did. Defensive paperwork trembled in his future. A ripple started through the crowd. Whispers, heads turning. People who had once been engrossed in floral arrangements were now watching like a live courtroom drama had broken out during cocktail hour. Someone near the back mouthed, "Is that her mother?" Another said, "She got slapped." Someone else, "Did she say Romano?" As in, Romano. I stood calmly, letting the silence thicken. No threats, no shouting, just presence. Chloe stepped closer, voice low and frantic. "Mom, please. We didn't mean to hurt you. Things are tight. The wedding cost more than we expected, and we figured you weren't really using the house. You mean the house I bought, the house I kept, the house I worked overtime for while you two were still eating alphabet cereal and drawing on the walls. That house." She swallowed hard. Her mascara was already smudging at the corners. For a moment, I saw the little girl again. But a moment isn't enough to erase theft. Tyler tried to step between us. "Let's all calm down. No need to escalate this. Everything can be handled privately and—" "No," I said. "Privacy is what you took advantage of. You emptied my house because you thought no one would see. You stole because you assumed silence was my default setting." Ethan opened his mouth, but the sound outside cut him off. Tires on gravel, a car too heavy, too loud, too deliberate for a wedding venue. 17 minutes. I didn't turn to look. I didn't need to. Instead, I said, "My husband gave me one thing before he died. Not money, not comfort, clarity. He made me promise that when I was disrespected beyond forgiveness, I would stop being quiet." I looked from Ethan to Chloe to Vanessa. My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. "You wanted me gone. You wanted the house, the money, the life. Fine. I hope it was worth the cost you're about to pay." Then I smiled again. Vanessa flinched. They tried to throw me out. Tyler grabbed my arm. "Big mistake. I'd spent 3 decades on construction sites. I knew leverage points. I knew how to shift my weight, how to break a grip, how to make a man twice my size suddenly rediscover gravity. I twisted, he yelped, and suddenly he was on his knees, with his arm bent at an educational angle. People around us flinched. Someone dropped a champagne flute. The string quartet faltered, the cello groaning out a wrong note like it understood the situation. "Don't touch me," I said. "I'm a guest. I was invited, wasn't I, Ethan?" My son looked sick. Not ashamed. Never that. Just afraid of optics. Afraid the illusion he'd constructed, the perfect wedding, the perfect life, the perfect version of himself, was starting to crack right down the center. "Let him go, Mum," he said. "Say please." His nostrils flared. For a second, I thought he'd refuse and choose pride over bones, but image won over ego like it always did. "Please," I released Tyler. He scrambled back, cradling his wrist, staring up at me like I'd just rewritten physics in front of him. Chloe was filming now too. Great. This would be all over her Instagram within minutes. Filtered, captioned, sanitized, #family drama, #blessed. Her voice shaking just enough to look fragile, just enough to keep the sympathy rolling in from strangers who didn't know a thing about what she'd done. The minutes crawled. I could almost hear them, each second a footstep bringing the past closer. Guests whispered in layered tones. Shocked, thrilled, horrified, entertained. Wealthy people love scandal as long as it doesn't stain their own shoes. Vanessa's mother, Helena Calder, appeared. 55, blonde, Botoxed, furious, and wearing a dress that cost more than my first car. Her face had been tightened so many times it could have been vacuum sealed. She looked at me like I was mold growing on her canapé tray. "What is happening here? This is a private event." "Family reunion," I said. "Very private, very personal." "This is unacceptable," she snapped. "You are trespassing. You will leave now." "Funny," I said. "That's exactly what your daughter told my furniture." Her jaw locked. I could almost hear the dental work grinding. She turned, voice rising into an operatic shriek. "Security!" 2 guards appeared on cue. Large men in ill-fitting suits, neck muscle, no brain tissue. They moved toward me, not running, but with that confident, lumbering walk of men who think sheer mass counts as authority. I didn't move. I didn't blink. I just stood there, arms at my sides, as calm as a loaded detonator. I counted seconds in my head, 15 minutes, 14, 13. The air shifted, a kind of pressure, like the room itself inhaled and held the breath. The main doors opened. Antonio Romano walked in. Half the room didn't recognize him, but the ones who did went silent in a way money can't buy. A silence made of fear, recognition, and the sudden awareness that this day was no longer theirs to control. Antonio was 60 now, but he wore his age the way a lion wears scars. Proof of survival, not weakness. Tall, broad, suit tailored to contain him, not flatter him. Hair silver at the temples, eyes dark as a shut door. He wasn't loud. He didn't need to be. He was gravity. Things rearranged themselves around him. The guard stopped walking. Tyler's phone lowered without him realizing it. Ethan's face lost another shade of confidence, and he hadn't had many left. Vanessa, for once, had no words. Her expensive mouth just hung open, like maybe for the first time in her curated adult life, she was witnessing power that didn't come from followers, inheritance, or branding. Romano didn't look at anyone except me. He nodded once. "Danny." No one called me Danny anymore. Not since the old days. Not since before I traded late nights in smoke-filled union halls for early mornings on job sites. Not since my husband died, and I decided I was done with that world. But it remembered me. "Antonio," I said. He looked at Ethan, then Chloe, then the guards. He didn't need to raise his voice. "Is there a problem here?" The kind of question that wasn't a question at all. Nobody answered. Because they all suddenly understood the thing my children had forgotten. I didn't come alone, and I didn't need to lift a finger now. My work was already done. The countdown in my head reached 0. I hadn't seen Romano in 5 years. He looked older, grey at the temples, lines around his eyes. But he moved the same way, like violence was a language he spoke fluently, but didn't need to translate for you unless you asked. Behind him were 3 men, not bodyguards, witnesses. That's how Romano worked. Everything documented, everything legal, everything terrifying. The room went silent, not the polite silence of a wedding, the thick silence of prey animals realizing there's a predator nearby. Helena Calder made a small sound, like a whimper. She knew who he was. Everyone in the textile business knew Romano. He'd been her father's partner once, before her father tried to cheat him, before Romano legally destroyed him, and then, out of kindness, let him rebuild with a massive debt hanging over his head, a debt Helena inherited. "Danny," Romano said, walking to me. He ignored everyone else. "You look good." "I look like I've been sleeping in a motel after my kids robbed me." "Kids," he said thoughtfully. He looked at Ethan, at Chloe, at Vanessa. "These are your kids?" "Unfortunately. They stole from you? They emptied my house while I slept, took everything, told me it was for my own good." Romano nodded slowly. "That's disrespectful. You raised them." "I did. Fed them, clothed them, paid for their education. Every penny. And they repay you by stealing." Romano smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Mrs. Calder, you're the bride's mother, yes?" Helena's voice shook. "Yes." "You taught your daughter to slap her elders?" "I didn't know she—" "You taught her that family means taking what you want. That's your family culture. I remember your father had the same culture. It didn't work out well for him." Helena's face went pale. "Mr. Romano, please, this is a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding," Romano said. "Danny here saved my son's life. Construction accident. 29 years ago. Beam fell. Danny grabbed him, threw him clear, took the hit herself. Spent 6 months in physical therapy. Never asked for anything. Not money, not favors. Nothing." He turned back to me. "So now I'm asking, Danny, what do you want? You want me to scare them? You want me to hurt them? You want them gone?" The room was holding its breath. I looked at my children, at their expensive clothes, and their terrified faces, at Tyler still cradling his wrist, at Vanessa, who'd slapped me 20 minutes ago and now looked like she might faint. "I want them to understand," I said slowly, "that actions have consequences. I want them to lose everything they took from me. Legally, publicly, completely. I want them to know what it feels like to be erased." Romano nodded. "That's a war." "Then it's a war. It's also expensive. I have money, the money they don't know about, the money I saved before Laura died, the money I've been investing for 30 years while they thought I was too stupid to understand finance." Romano's smile widened. "You want the war or the world, Danny?" I thought about that, about my empty house, about Vanessa's slap, about Ethan's ashamed face every time he introduced me, about Chloe's fake charity streams where she pocketed half the donations. "Both," I said. Romano left after that. He didn't threaten anyone, didn't need to. His presence was the threat. The wedding continued, but it was a corpse pretending to be alive. Guests whispered. Vanessa cried in the bathroom. Ethan tried to act normal and failed miserably. I left before the ceremony started. I had work to do. The motel room became my war room. I spread out papers on the bed, documents, emails I'd saved over the years, photos, bank statements, everything I knew about my children's lives that they'd thought I was too old or too stupid to notice. Ethan had lied on his mortgage application, claimed my house as an asset he owned, used the equity to leverage a bigger loan for his condo. If I proved I still owned the house, His loan was fraudulent, not illegal enough for jail, but illegal enough to destroy his credit and his reputation. Chloe's charity streams were carefully documented. She claimed 80% of donations went to causes. Reality was closer to 40%. The rest went to administrative costs, which meant her credit card bills. Not technically illegal, just immoral. But her followers didn't know that. They thought she was a saint. Tyler had affairs. 3 of them. All documented in hotel receipts and text messages he'd carelessly left on a shared tablet. Chloe didn't know, but she would. Vanessa's family business used undocumented workers, paid them cash, no overtime, no safety equipment. I'd seen it myself on sites where their fabric was delivered. I had photos, dates, names. None of this was supernatural. None of it was hacking or magic evidence. It was just truth, carefully collected, patiently stored, waiting for the right moment. The moment was now. I started with Ethan. I called his mortgage company, told them I was the legal owner of the property he'd listed as collateral, sent them the deed, the real deed with my name on it. 24 hours later, they called him in for an audit. 48 hours later, his loan was flagged for review. 72 hours later, he was suspended from work pending investigation. He called me, screaming. "What did you do?" "I corrected a mistake," I said calmly. "You told them you owned my house. You don't. That's fraud." "You're destroying my life." "No, son. I'm just revealing what you built it on." Turns out it was sand. He hung up. 10 minutes later, Chloe called. "Mom, please. Stop this. Ethan is falling apart." "Good. He should fall. He pushed me. We were trying to help you. By robbing me, by humiliating me, by slapping me at a wedding." Silence. Then, "Vanessa shouldn't have done that." "But she did, and you filmed it, and Tyler filmed it, and now it's evidence." "Evidence of what?" "That you're all awful people, and I'm done pretending you're not." I hung up. Next was Chloe. I sent her donor records to a consumer advocacy blogger who specialized in exposing influencer fraud. Included screenshots, dates, amounts, everything. The blog post went live at midnight. By morning, it had 50,000 shares. By afternoon, her sponsors were dropping her. By evening, her follower count was hemorrhaging. She called me crying. "You ruined me." "No, baby, you ruined yourself. I just turned on the lights." "I'll sue you." "For what? Telling the truth?" "Good luck with that." Tyler called next. He didn't cry. He threatened. "You're going to regret this, Danielle." "I doubt that. I have friends, lawyers, people who can make your life very difficult." "You mean the lawyers at your firm who are about to receive photos of you sleeping with your personal trainer? Those lawyers?" Silence. "See, Tyler, here's what you don't understand. I'm not playing your game. I'm not using your rules. I'm just exposing who you really are, and you're all terrible at hiding it." He hung up. An hour later, 3 men showed up at my motel. They weren't lawyers. They were muscle, the kind Tyler hired for intimidation jobs, the kind who looked scary but weren't used to people fighting back. I saw them through the window. 3 large men in black jackets. One had a bat. Classy. I called Romano. "Need advice?" "What's the situation?" 3 guys with bad intentions outside my motel room." "You armed?" "No." "You know how to fight?" "I know construction sites. I know leverage." "Then leverage them. I'll send someone to clean up. 5 minutes. He hung up. The men knocked. Polite at first. "Mrs. Kessler, we need to talk." I opened the door. Smiled. "About what?" "About you backing off. About you leaving your family alone." "My family stole from me." "That's between you and them. We're here to make sure you don't escalate." The one with the bat tapped it against his palm, trying to look threatening. It worked, but I've been threatened by falling beams and equipment failures and deadlines that could bankrupt companies. A man with a bat was just another problem to solve. "Come in," I said. "Let's talk inside." They hesitated, then came in. Mistake. The motel room was small, tight space. That was good for me. I grabbed the desk lamp, yanked the cord, swung it hard, caught the back guy in the throat. He dropped, gagging. Second guy rushed me. I sidestepped, shoved him into the wall, brought my knee up into his kidney. He folded. Third guy was smarter. He backed toward the door. Yep, I said, also trained in workplace safety, which includes disarming threats. He ran. The other two were groaning on the floor. I zip-tied their wrists with cable ties I kept in my bag. Construction habit. Always carry zip ties. Romano's man arrived 4 minutes later, a quiet guy named Luis, who looked like an accountant. He assessed the situation, made a phone call, and within 20 minutes the two men were gone. No cops, no reports, just gone. You okay? Luis asked. Fine. Tell Romano thanks. He says you're clear for whatever you need. Resources, information, legal help, anything. I just need one thing. Can you find out where Vanessa's family keeps their business records? The real ones, not the ones they show auditors. Luis smiled. I can do that. 3 days later, I had the records. Vanessa's family business was a house of cards. They claimed ethical practices, but their supply chain was a nightmare. Undocumented workers, unsafe conditions, wage theft, environmental violations. I didn't leak it to the media. I leaked it to their biggest client, a major retailer who'd built their brand on ethical sourcing. The client dropped them within 48 hours. The media picked it up anyway. By the end of the week, the Calder family business was under investigation by 3 different agencies. Helena Calder went from society queen to pariah overnight. Vanessa called me. You destroyed my family. No, honey, your family destroyed themselves. I just showed people what they'd been hiding. Ethan won't leave me. We're married now. We'll rebuild. With what money? Your family's broke. Ethan's suspended from work. You've got nothing. We have each other. For now. Wait until the bills come. Wait until you can't afford your lifestyle. Wait until you're shopping at thrift stores instead of boutiques. Then we'll see how much you have. She hung up crying. Detective Rowan Hale showed up at my motel a week later. 45, greying, wearing a rumpled suit that said he'd been a cop long enough to stop caring about appearances. Mrs. Kessler, I'm investigating several connected incidents. Assault on Tyler Reed's associates. Defamation claims against you. Harassment complaints from your children. I didn't harass anyone. I told the truth. Truth can be harassment if used maliciously. Can it also be justice? He studied me. You're in a dangerous position. Your children are talking about restraining orders. Vanessa's family is talking about lawsuits. You've made a lot of enemies. I had enemies before I did anything. They just didn't know I knew. Hale sat down. Here's what I know. You're not doing anything illegal. Everything you've revealed is documented, provable, public record or close enough. But you're still burning bridges. Bridges were already burned. I'm just making sure they can't rebuild them. Why? Because they stole from me, because they humiliated me, because they thought I was weak. Hale nodded slowly. And Romano? What about him? He's a dangerous man to owe favors to. I don't owe him. He owes me. That's what I'm afraid of, because men like Romano don't just pay debts. They invest in people, and right now, you're his investment. Is that a problem? Depends on what you're planning next. I looked at him, really looked. Whose side are you on, detective? He smiled. The law's side, which means I want to make sure whatever you do next is legal, because if it's not, I'll have to stop you, and I'd rather not. Why? Because I looked into your case. Your kids are pieces of work. They deserve what's coming. I just want to make sure you don't cross a line that puts you in jail. I won't. Good, because Romano asked me to keep an eye on you. Make sure you stay on the right side of things. So consider me your legal advisor, unofficially. He stood, handed me a card. You need help navigating the law, call me. You need help with anything else, call Romano. But don't do anything stupid. After he left, I sat there thinking. Hale was right. I was burning bridges. But bridges to what? A family that betrayed me. A life I'd already lost. No, I wasn't burning bridges. I was scorching earth. And I wasn't done. Her followers had turned on her. Brand deals evaporated. Her Instagram was a graveyard of angry comments and unsubscribed notifications. But she tried to rebuild, posted a tearful apology video, claimed she'd made mistakes, promised transparency, begged for forgiveness. The video went viral, but not for the reasons she hoped. I'd timed it perfectly. While she was streaming her apology, I'd rented billboard time in 3 major intersections near her apartment. Digital billboards, expensive. Worth it. The billboards showed screenshots of her financial records, how much she'd actually donated, how much she'd kept. Side-by-side comparisons, simple, brutal, true. Her apology stream turned into a meltdown. She saw someone in the comments mention the billboards, checked her phone, saw the photos, started crying, then screaming. Then the stream cut off, but not before 2 million people watched her fall apart in real time. Tyler tried to do damage control, posted his own statement, called me a vindictive old woman, said I was jealous of their success. I responded by sending his affair evidence to Chloe. All of it, photos, messages, hotel receipts, everything. She filed for divorce the next day. Ethan was the holdout. He still believed he could fix this. He still thought he was smarter than me. He tried to get a restraining order, claimed I was harassing him. The judge laughed him out of court. Everything I'd done was legal, public information, no threats, no contact except when he called me. He tried to get power of attorney, claimed I was mentally unfit, had me evaluated. The psychiatrist said I was one of the sanest people she'd ever met. Cold, maybe. Angry, definitely. But sane. He tried to claim the house through adverse possession, said he'd been maintaining it for years. I produced receipts showing I'd paid all bills, taxes, and maintenance from my own accounts. Every move he made, I countered. Every scheme he tried, I demolished. It was almost boring. Then he showed up at my motel, alone, broken. "Mom," he said, "please, I'm sorry. We're sorry. We made a mistake." "You made several." "I know, but we're family. Can't we fix this?" I looked at my son, really looked, saw the bags under his eyes, the weight he'd lost, the desperation. "You want to know something, Ethan? Before you robbed me, I was planning to give you the house. After I died, it was in my will. Everything split between you and Chloe. You would have inherited it anyway." His face went white. "But you couldn't wait. You thought I was old and useless. You thought you could just take what you wanted, and now you'll never have it." "What do you mean?" "I sold it. Yesterday. Got a good price, too. Market's hot right now. You sold my house. My house. It was always my house. And now it's someone else's house. And you get nothing." He started crying, actual tears. "Where will I go? I have nothing left. Vanessa left me. My job fired me. I'm broke." "You should have thought about that before you stole from your mother. Please, I'm begging you." "The answer is no." He left. I watched him walk away. Felt nothing. That's what revenge does. It doesn't make you feel better. It just makes you feel less. The final move came a month later. Vanessa's family was liquidating assets to pay legal fees. Their estate was going to auction. The same estate where her family had hosted charity galas and society parties, where they'd looked down on people like me. I went to the auction, brought Romano, brought Detective Hale as a witness, brought a cashier's check for the full asking price. The estate was beautiful. 10 acres, historic mansion, guest houses, stables, everything Helena Calder had used to prove she was better than everyone else. Bidding started at 2 million, went to 3, 4, 5. At 6 million, there were only 2 bidders left. Me and a developer who wanted to tear it down and build condos. At 7 million, the developer dropped out. I bought it for 7.2 million. Helena Calder watched from the crowd. She looked like she'd been hollowed out. Vanessa was there too, standing next to Ethan. They'd gotten back together apparently, united in their misery. They stared at me like I was a monster. Maybe I was. The press showed up. Local news, society reporters. Everyone wanted the story of the construction worker who bought the Calder estate. I gave them a story. My children stole from me, I said calmly into the cameras. They emptied my house while I slept. They humiliated me at a wedding. They thought I was too old, too stupid, too weak to fight back. They were wrong. What will you do with the estate? A reporter asked. I'm turning it into a women's shelter for mothers fleeing abusive children, for elderly women whose families have abandoned them, for anyone who needs a place to rebuild. The cameras loved it. The story went national. I became a folk hero. The grandmother who fought back. The underdog who won. But I wasn't a hero. Heroes feel good about what they do. I just felt empty. The confrontation happened at the estate 3 days later. Ethan, Chloe, Tyler, and Vanessa showed up together, demanded to talk to me. I met them in the main hall, the same hall where wealthy people used to drink champagne and pretend they were important. You've gone too far, Ethan said. You've destroyed our lives. I've revealed your lives. There's a difference. We're your children, Chloe screamed. You're supposed to love us. I did love you, past tense. Tyler stepped forward. This ends now. We're not going to let you keep humiliating us. How are you going to stop me? He pulled out his phone. I have recordings of you admitting you did all this for revenge, of you planning to destroy us. I'll take it to the police, to the media. We'll destroy your reputation. I smiled. Go ahead. You don't think I will? I think you'll try. And then Detective Hale will explain that everything I did was legal. And then Romano will explain that trying to blackmail me is not legal. And then you'll end up in worse trouble than you're already in. You can't do this, Vanessa said. Her voice was shaking. You can't just destroy people's lives because you're angry. Watch me. Ethan moved fast, grabbed my arm, tried to shake me. You're a monster. You're destroying your own family. I twisted out of his grip. Old construction reflexes. 30 years of knowing how to break holds without getting hurt. Tyler rushed me next. Bigger mistake. I stepped aside, let his momentum carry him into the wall. He hit hard, slumped down. Chloe was screaming. Vanessa was crying. Ethan looked like he wanted to hit me but was too afraid. You want to hurt me? I asked. Go ahead. Try. But understand this. I have nothing left to lose. You took everything that mattered. My home, my dignity, my family. All I have left is revenge. And I'm very, very good at it. Security arrived then. My security. Men Romano had vetted. They escorted my children out. Gently, but firmly. Detective Hale showed up an hour later. I heard there was a disturbance. My children tried to attack me. I defended myself. Your officers can confirm. They can. They also said you were calm, controlled, almost like you expected it. I did expect it. Cornered animals always attack. You're not afraid they'll hurt you. They can't hurt me anymore. They already did the worst thing. Everything else is just noise. Hale sat down, looked tired. You know what the problem with revenge is, Mrs. Kessler. What? It never feels as good as you think it will. You destroy them, but you're still empty, still alone, still hurt. I know. Then why keep going? Because stopping now would mean they won, and I will not let them win. He nodded. Fair enough. That's where I draw the line. I won't. I want them to live with what they did. After he left, I walked through the estate. Room after room of expensive emptiness. I'd won. I'd destroyed my enemies. I'd taken everything they valued. And I felt nothing. The women's shelter opened 3 months later. I hired staff, set up programs, created safe spaces for women who'd been betrayed by their families. The first resident was a woman named Patricia, 62. Her son had drained her retirement account and left her homeless. She cried when I showed her room. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "Because someone should have done it for me." The shelter filled quickly. 30 women, then 50, then 70, all with similar stories, all betrayed by people they'd loved. We became a community, not a happy one. Happiness was too far away, but a functional one, a surviving one. Chloe tried to contact me once, sent a letter, said she understood now, said she was sorry, said she'd do anything to fix things. I burned the letter without reading past the first line. Ethan sent lawyers. They threatened lawsuits, claimed I'd stolen from him, claimed emotional damages. The lawyers got nowhere. Everything I'd done was legal, documented, clean. Vanessa's family filed for bankruptcy. Their business collapsed completely. Helena Calder moved to a small apartment across town. I heard she worked as a receptionist now. The irony was delicious. Tyler lost his law license. The affair evidence, combined with the attempted assault on me, was enough to get him disbarred. Last I heard, he was selling insurance. Romano visited me at the estate 6 months after I bought it. We walked through the gardens. "You did it," he said. "You destroyed them completely." "I did. How does it feel?" "Empty. Revenge usually does. But you're still alive. That counts for something." "Does it?" "My son thinks so. He wants to meet you. Thank you properly for saving his life." "That was 30 years ago. Debts don't expire, Danny. Neither does gratitude." We walked in silence for a while. Then Romano said, "What now?" "I don't know. I run the shelter. I help women who've been hurt like I was. Maybe that's enough." "Is it?" "It has to be." A year passed. The shelter thrived. I became known in the community, not as a hero, as someone who understood pain and didn't pretend it could be fixed. My children disappeared from my life completely. No calls, no letters, no attempts at reconciliation. Just silence. I preferred it that way. One afternoon, I was in the garden when a woman approached, young, maybe 30. She looked familiar. "Mrs. Kessler," she said nervously. "Yes?" "I'm Emily Romano, Antonio's daughter-in-law. My husband wanted me to give you this." She handed me an envelope. Inside was a photo, a young man in a construction helmet smiling. Romano's son, alive, because I'd grabbed him 30 years ago. Below the photo was a note. "Thank you for my life. Thank you for my children. Thank you for everything. We never forget." I stared at the photo, felt something crack inside me. Not pain exactly, something else, something like warmth. "Tell your husband he's welcome," I said. Emily smiled. "He also wanted me to tell you, you're not alone. You have family, not the one you were born with, the one you chose." After she left, I sat in the garden holding that photo, thinking about debts and gratitude and revenge and emptiness. Maybe Romano was right. Maybe being alive counted for something. Maybe helping others counted for more. 2 years after the wedding slap, I stood in the main hall of the estate. 50 women were gathered for our anniversary celebration. 2 years of survival, 2 years of rebuilding. Patricia stood up to speak. "When I came here, I thought my life was over. My son had taken everything. I had nothing, no money, no home, no hope." She looked at me. "Danielle gave me a place to start over. Not just a room, a purpose. She taught me that family isn't who you're born to. It's who stands with you when everything falls apart." The women applauded. I felt that warmth again, stronger this time. After the celebration, I walked to my private office, locked the door, pulled out a box I kept hidden. Inside were the last remnants of my old life, photos of Ethan and Chloe as children, Laura's wedding ring, a birthday card from my son that said, "Best mum ever." I looked at them for a long time. Then I put them back, locked the box, put it away. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, just acceptance that some things stay broken, and that's okay. The final confrontation came 3 years after the wedding. Unexpected, unwanted. Ethan showed up at the estate. Security called me, asked if they should send him away. "Let him in," I said. "Let's see what he wants." He looked terrible, thin, grey, older than his years. He stood in the doorway like he wasn't sure he was allowed inside. "Mum," he said, "I need to talk to you." Talk. I've been in therapy, working on myself, understanding what I did, why I did it. And I was ashamed of you, of your work, of your clothes, of how you talked. I wanted you to be different, someone I could show off, someone who fit my world. I know. You knew. Of course I knew. You made it obvious. He slumped. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I destroyed our family because I was a shallow, terrible person." "Yes, you did." "Can you ever forgive me?" I looked at him, really looked, saw the regret, the pain, the genuine remorse. "No," I said. He flinched like I'd hit him. "I can't forgive you, Ethan. What you did wasn't a mistake. It was a choice, a series of choices. You chose to be ashamed of me. You chose to steal from me. You chose to side with Vanessa when she slapped me. You chose everything that happened next. I was wrong. I know. But being wrong doesn't erase what you did. It doesn't give me back the home I lost, the family I lost, the trust I lost. So that's it. We're done forever. We were done 3 years ago. This is just you realizing it." He stood there, silent, then nodded. "Okay, I understand. I just wanted you to know I'm sorry, even if it doesn't matter." "It matters, just not enough." He turned to leave, stopped at the door. "The women here are lucky to have someone who understands. They're not lucky, they're survivors. There's a difference." After he left, I sat alone in my office. Felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no regret, just peace. 5 years after the wedding, the shelter expanded. We bought 3 adjacent properties, housed 200 women, became a model program that other cities studied and replicated. I was interviewed constantly, featured in magazines, called inspirational. I wasn't inspirational. I was just angry enough to build something useful. Romano's son visited regularly, brought his children. They called me Aunt Danny. I liked that. Detective Hale retired and became a volunteer at the shelter. Taught women about their legal rights, how to protect themselves, how to fight back safely. One afternoon he asked me, "Do you ever regret it? What you did to your children?" "No, not even a little. They made their choice. I made mine. We all live with consequences. That's cold. That's realistic. Forgiveness is a luxury. Some of us can't afford it." He nodded. "Fair enough." 7 years after the wedding, I received a letter from Chloe. She'd gotten sober, left Tyler, started working at a non-profit, was trying to rebuild her life without social media, without lies, without pretending. The letter was honest, painful, real. "I don't expect forgiveness," she wrote. "I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know I understand now what I did. I destroyed something precious because I was spoiled and stupid and cruel. I'm trying to be better, not for you, for myself. But I thought you should know." I kept the letter, didn't respond, but I kept it. 6 months later, Chloe showed up at the shelter. Not to see me, to volunteer. She worked in the kitchen, cleaned rooms, helped women move in. Never asked for special treatment, never mentioned our relationship. I watched her from a distance, saw her patience, her kindness, her genuine desire to help. One day she was helping Patricia move furniture. Patricia asked, "Why do you volunteer here?" Chloe said, Because I hurt someone I loved. I can't fix it, but maybe I can help other people not make the same mistakes. I heard that, felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness, not yet, maybe never, but something close to understanding. 10 years after the wedding, I turned 68. The shelter threw me a party. 200 women, Romano's family, Detective Hale, local politicians who'd funded our expansion. Everyone was there except my children. At the end of the party, Chloe approached me. She'd been volunteering for 3 years, never missed a shift, never asked for anything. "Happy birthday, Mum," she said quietly. It was the first time she'd called me Mom in 10 years. "Thank you. I made you something." She handed me a box. Inside was a photo album, pictures of the shelter, the women we'd helped, the families we'd rebuilt. Years of work documented carefully. On the last page was a photo of me and Laura, young, happy, before everything fell apart. Below it, Chloe had written, "You taught me that family is what you build, not what you're born with. Thank you for building this, even if I can't be part of it." I looked at her, really looked, saw my daughter, not the influencer, not the betrayer, just a woman trying to be better than she was. "You are part of it," I said. "You've been part of it for 3 years. You just didn't ask permission." She started crying. "Does that mean—" "It means you're welcome to keep volunteering. It means I see you trying. It means maybe someday we can talk about forgiveness. But not today." "Okay, thank you. That's more than I deserve." "Probably. But I'm tired of revenge. It's exhausting, and I'd rather build than destroy." She hugged me. I let her. It felt strange, foreign, but not wrong. 15 years after the wedding, I was 73. The shelter had helped over 1,000 women, changed countless lives, become my legacy. Ethan never came back. I heard he moved to another state, started over, found some peace. I was glad. Distance was better than hatred. Chloe became my assistant director. She ran programs, managed staff, earned the respect of every woman in the shelter. Not because she was my daughter, because she worked harder than anyone else. We weren't close, not like before, but we were something. Colleagues, allies, maybe eventually family again. Romano died that year, peacefully, in his sleep. His son called me, asked if I'd speak at the funeral. I did. Told the story of the construction accident, how Romano's debt had saved my life when I needed it most, how one act of gratitude had changed everything. After the funeral, Romano's son gave me an envelope. "Dad wanted you to have this." Inside was a key to a safe deposit box. In the box was a letter. "Danny, you took a hit for my son. I took a hit for yours. We're even now. But if you need anything, ever call my son." The debt passes down. Family takes care of family, even chosen family. "Antonio," I cried then, really cried, for the first time in 15 years. 20 years after the wedding slap, I stood in the main hall of the estate, now called the Kessler Center, named after Laura, my late wife, the woman who'd warned me in a dream to leave the house. 500 women had lived here over the years. Most had moved on, built new lives, some stayed to help others, created a community of survivors. I was 88 now, tired, ready. Chloe ran the center. She'd earned it, worked for it, became the person I'd hoped she could be when she was young. We were having coffee in my office, our ritual, every Sunday morning. "Mom," she said carefully, "I need to tell you something." "Go ahead." "Ethan died, last week, heart attack. He was 52. I felt nothing. Then something. Sadness, maybe, for the son I'd lost twice. Once to betrayal. "Did he have family?" "A wife, 2 kids. They're struggling financially." "Help them, quietly, anonymously. Don't tell them it's from me." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. He was my son. His children are my grandchildren. Even if I never met them, even if they never know who I am, family is complicated, but it still matters. She squeezed my hand. You're a better person than you think. I died 6 months after Ethan, peacefully, like Romano, in my sleep. Chloe found me in the morning, sitting in my office chair, looking out at the gardens, a letter on my desk. The letter was addressed to her. Chloe, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. I want you to know I forgave you, not at the wedding, not after 10 years, but gradually, in small moments, every time you showed up, every time you helped someone, every time you chose to be better than you were. Forgiveness isn't a moment, it's a process. We finished that process. You rebuilt what was broken, not perfectly, but enough. Run the center well. Help women who've been hurt. Teach them that betrayal doesn't have to be permanent, that people can change. That family is what you make it. I'm proud of you. Finally. Completely. Without reservation. Love, Mom. Chloe organized the funeral. 500 women attended. Romano's family. Detective Hale's family. Local politicians. Everyone I'd helped over 20 years. At the service, she read my letter aloud. Half the audience cried. Then she told the truth. My mother was not a saint. She was angry, vengeful, ruthless when she needed to be. She destroyed my life, my brother's life, our entire family. And she was right to do it. We betrayed her. We stole from her. We humiliated her. And she made us pay. Silence. But she also built this place, helped 1,000 women, gave second chances to people who'd been betrayed like she was. She taught me that revenge and redemption aren't opposites. They're two sides of the same coin. You can destroy what hurt you and build something better from the ashes. She held up the letter. She forgave me, eventually, after I earned it, after I proved I'd changed. That's the lesson, not that forgiveness is free, but that it's possible, if you work hard enough, if you mean it. After the service, Patricia approached Chloe. Your mother saved my life. She saved a lot of lives. No, I mean she literally saved my life. I had pills in my purse, I was done. And she looked at me and said, don't you dare die before you make them regret it. So I didn't. I lived. Out of spite at first, then out of purpose, then out of joy. Your mother taught me that survival is the best revenge. Chloe smiled through tears. That sounds like her. Epilogue. The Kessler Center still operates today, 30 years after it opened, 50 years after the wedding slap. Chloe ran it until she was 70, then passed it to one of the women she'd helped, who passed it to another. A chain of survivors helping survivors. Ethan's grandchildren found out eventually. About their great-grandmother. The woman who'd been betrayed and built an empire from the ashes. They visited the center, learned the story, felt proud. The estate grounds have a memorial garden now, dedicated to women who survived family betrayal. There's a plaque with my name. A quote I said once, family is what you build, not what you're born with. Every year on the anniversary of the wedding slap, the center holds a ceremony. Women tell their stories, share their pain, celebrate their survival. It's not about forgiveness. It's about refusing to let betrayal destroy you. It's about revenge that builds instead of destroys. It's about knowing that sometimes the best way to heal is to help others who've been hurt the same way. My name was Danielle Kessler. I was betrayed by my children. I destroyed their lives. Then I built something better from the ruins. That's not a fairy tale. That's survival, and survival is enough.